The emotions are very important. You can learn a lot with your mind. You can be all kinds of scientific and all this and all that, and be logical as hell about everything, and know all these quantum theories and all these things. But if you don't have emotional well-being there, then you don't really get the full picture. You know what I mean? It's like you're only seeing three dimensions, and you're not comprehending that there's more than that. You see what I mean? So the emotional well-being is very crucial. It's very key to being human, and I think this is just the way it is. And to use just the mind only, I think this is going to lead to problems. Um, Everything will be efficient, but to do away with the emotions is really going to limit um, reality, basically, because emotions and nature, you know, and this all of this is necessary. You have to know what emotional health is what I'm saying. Yeah, because I think people who say that they only want to do things with their mind, to do things logically, to do things. They think that emotions hold people back, and I think people who think like that are emotionally challenged. Shall I say that in the nicest ways possible? Because when you're emotionally healthy, your mental capacity increases exponentially. But when you're emotionally unhealthy, your mental capacity will increase, but not as much as you think. And so, the fact that we are humans with physical bodies, the emotion is part of that experience. It's necessary. It's a part of the process of learning. If you can learn without emotion, you're not really getting the full picture. You're not really getting all the dimensions. Yeah, you're not. You still will learn. Don't get me wrong. You can be book smart as hell, but to be able to use that in reality, you have to know how. You have to know when the rules need to be bent, because that's what rules are for. Yeah, rules, for one thing, they're made to establish order, but not necessarily peace. Yeah, I mean, just look at dictatorship kind of countries. You'll see that's not peace. That's terror. The rules need to be a groundwork. There has to be a groundwork. So there has to be rules. But you have to be emotionally developed to be able to know when the rules need to be bent. Because that's the other aspect of rules. And this is what people don't know. People who are only use their minds, for them the rules must always be followed. They must always be this way. But emotionally unhealthy people, what their problem is that they bend the rules at the most inappropriate times, and that leads to codependency. Yeah, they bend the rules at the drop of a tear. Yeah, um, or giving in to an oppressive partner because he's really angry. And just and not not trying to find any kind of a foundation here. That's emotionally unhealthy. Yeah, that they bend the rules all the time. Yeah, and they think that's the rule. Yeah, to bend the rules. that's that's not going to work either. In emotional well-being, it's important to know the rules. Very important, so that you know which ones to bend at appropriate times. Yeah? Because sometimes there's a certain rule that you will bend in some situations, but in others you won't. And the way you know when to do that is to be emotionally balanced. And that's when you get the most out of the experience. Now, people who only use their minds, they never bend the rules, which is fine, but it's not going to give fulfillment. Imagine a coloring book, yeah? That you open up a coloring book and you see all these wonderful images. This is logical. This is a person with logic. Yeah, this picture, it has lines curving this way and that way and this way, and it's a butterfly sitting on a tree. Okay, that's what those lines are telling us. That's where our minds are interpreting these lines as this image, and we go, "Oh, that's wonderful." Yeah, that's logic, and that's where it ends. Yeah, that's using the mind only. Using your emotions, you're like, what color is that butterfly? I'm gonna make a purple one. Okay, so I'm gonna put a purple. Where's my purple? I'm gonna put the color, the butterfly purple, and I'm gonna use green dots. Okay, and the butterfly has green dots. See, now you're building dimension. Yeah. Now, you're choosing these colors because it's appealing to your emotion. It's appealing to your likes and your dislikes. Yeah. And so you're deciding what color it should be according to how you feel that day. Yeah. And that would be like a person who is emotionally balanced. A person who appreciates the structure of the picture, but decides to choose, how to interpret that picture using colors. That's an emotionally healthy person. Now, an emotionally unhealthy person would be going, what color do you think this butterfly should be? Yeah? Colors that then, well, I don't like it. And then start pouting over it and everything like that, and just at the whim, yeah. And a genius would say, okay, this wing is gonna be sienna, and this other side of the wing is going to be beige. Hey. This could invent a whole new species of butterfly here. Yeah? That's a genius. Oh shoot. Oh gosh. See what's really happening here is the butterfly is holding up the tree so the tree will not fall. Now that's a kid you better pay attention to. Oh shit. Oh my. So do you see how wonderful life is when you have emotions involved? Yeah, so just to use your mind alone is not gonna be fulfilling. Using your emotions alone may not work because there's no logic, and when you choose to do everything by emotions, you end up walking a very dangerous road that goes to codependency. And eventually, using your mind only is going to end up on that road too. That's using your mind only is kind of like the long way to get to codependency. Using emotions only is like taking the shortcut to codependency. Do you see what I mean? They both are going to end up there eventually. So being just one or the other this is presenting a duality, and it's both of them are leading to duality. Yeah, and so if this really happened, if what I'm saying is if there was actually a group of humans somewhere out in the universe that was only using their mind, they probably wouldn't last too long because they're going to find excuses for not doing certain things because it's going to bring emotion. Yeah. Um, and to say okay, we're this planet can only sustain a certain amount of life, so that means we can only have X amount of babies, and of course there will be no sex involved. Everything will be in vitro, and children will not be raised. They cannot be raised by mothers or anybody because that is physical, emotional bonding, and that brings in the emotion, so that can't happen. You see what I mean? So when a child does not receive that bonding from its mother, then I guarantee you this child is going to grow up disturbed. Yeah, because the emotional development has to be there. It will grow up disturbed. You can Google that and find scientific studies done on that. I mean, even as simple. I shouldn't say as simple because I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. But there's a study done on rhesus monkeys. Is it rhesus monkeys? Is that how they pronounce that? They're there's a really special kind of a monkey that is. There's the studies it will tell you, why they chose to use these monkeys. Their bonding with the children is very human-like, the babies, I mean, and so when you have one of these monkeys being raised in a total sterile environment, this child was kind of jumpy. It was kind of, it was scared of everything. And a lot of them, they did that to a bunch of them, yeah, and they all turned out this way. And so if you do it to human babies, it's going to have a similar result. And so with some of these babies that were taken away from their mothers, what they did was they made a machine that looks like a mother, and they had it heated, yeah, like a heated pad there, so it was like warm. So when the baby saw this, it slowly, would slowly walk up there and touch it and run away. And then when it realized it was warm, it would slowly gain more confidence to come into contact with this fake mother. And then it got to the warm part, and then it would settle there, and it would start to bond. And they noticed that its heart rate dropped. It calmed down. Yeah, it was calming down, and it was becoming affectionate with this thing that it interpreted as a mother. That shows you that emotions are a very important part of life. Yeah, and for those of you who have plants, when you talk to your plants in a very loving way, they respond accordingly. See, nature picks up on this too. Yeah, I know somebody. I'm not going to say who it is, because a friend of hers might be listening. Somebody, it's not Nicola, okay? Whenever I say somebody in Germany, it's not Nicola, and it's somebody who is not. I'm not involved with her in any capacity whatsoever. Anyway, this lady, she tries to every spring. She gets a bunch of flowers and plants and decorates her apartment with it. And within a few weeks, they all die. She waters it. Yeah, she does her best in watering the plants. She puts them in the sun. Some plants don't need that much water, and some need a lot of water and stuff like that. She knows all of this. She's really knowledgeable. But for some reason, the plants always die on her. And I got to meet with her one time, and I was like, man, this gal is kind of goofed up emotionally. Yeah, she's smart. She's academically really smart. Yeah, mentally very smart, but emotionally there's something wrong, and the plants pick up on it. So no matter what she does, they end up dying. Yeah, and so one time she got some plants and she went on holiday, and a friend of hers said she would come and water the plants. So she was gone for about 4 weeks, I think, so about a month. When she came back to her apartment, her all these plants were just blossoming. Yeah, they were the just wonderful scene. 2 weeks after she came home, they're starting to die. True story, yeah. And she's like, "What's wrong with me?" I said, "You're a plant killer. That's why." I said, "They're all terrified of you." See, you're part Arab. That's why. That's why the desert is the way it is. Shit, I really had fun with her. She really got pissed off. You know? She really didn't like that what I was saying and calling me a racist. And oh my gosh. But I didn't care though. Yeah, it didn't bother me. So oh man, I really had fun with her. But this is what I mean. Even nature really it influences our emotions, and it reacts to our emotions too. How how we are, yeah. How are we emotionally healthy? That's the thing. Yeah. Are we emotionally healthy? The plants are going to pick up on that. Yeah. Animals are going to pick up on that. I know a gal um, who she has two cats. I'm a cat person. I love cats. I have had cats all my life. And my cats have always been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful beings. Men and women, yeah, male and female. I had both kinds of both genders of cats. And I can tell you lots of wonderful cat stories. Uh, one of my all-time favorites was a yellow tabby cat, tomcat. His name was Z. Z is the color Lakota word for the color yellow. And my dad found him in a dump ground. For those of you that are not in America and you don't know what that means, a dump ground is like where it's a place, it's some land that is specifically used to dump trash into. So sometimes people who deal with junk, they go to these dump grounds and they go searching through it. Yeah, they'll be wearing gloves and boots and all kinds of things so they don't get cut. And they'll be looking for things because sometimes people throw away good stuff. They're just tired of it. Yeah, so junk dealers will go looking through it and then they'll clean it up and maybe it can even be repaired. Yeah, so they fix it and then they sell it in their junk shops and things like that. My dad was working in a place in Nebraska, and it was summertime. It was really hot, and he was he felt he's just gonna park at the dumps and just sleep there during the nighttime. And so every night he would come back to the dump ground. Here, this little kitty showed up. Yeah, every night he kept showing up. It's the same little kitty. So my dad kind of adopted him. Yeah, and later that towards the end of the summer, he came to Shan River, which is where I grew up, Shan River Sioux Reservation, which is about a 10-hour drive from where he was at. So he drove, early in the morning, and he got to our place about 6 o'clock in the evening time. It was about somewhere in August, and he had this little kitty with him. See, this cat was friendly, yeah. This and my dad said, yeah, he's a junkyard cat. He said he found him in the junk and dump pile, and he said most junkyard cats are wild, yeah, and they're wild and they're ferocious. But this one's not like that. He said, this one's really nice. It's really friendly. And so that cat, my dad asked me if I wanted him. I said, sure. Because the cat seemed to choose me. Yeah, he was really playing and showing off and making me laugh. And I think he knew what he was doing. Yeah, he was doing that probably because I needed it. Yeah. Because in my life, I really had a rugged childhood. My mother's parents did not like my dad because of a Christian belief. See, if you remember what I said earlier, is that a lot of times Indians in the early days of the reservation were trying to be Christians, and in the New Testament it says that when a man gets married and he divorces and then marries a second time, he's living in adultery and he's causing the new wife to live in adultery too. Well, my mom was his second wife. Yeah, he was married before and he divorced that lady. And also any children that come from a second marriage are considered bastards. Any children that are born in adultery are considered bastards. This is the Christian belief. A lot of Christians don't want to admit that, but that's in the New Testament. Yeah? So this is the reason why my mother's older relatives, they really treated me bad. Yeah, they really treated me bad. They didn't hit me or anything, but they talked bad to me, and they didn't treat me good either. So even my mother's mother didn't treat me good. So it was hard for me. So my mom always kept me away from those relatives so they couldn't hurt me. So, those relatives, they would tell their kids not to play with me because they said I'm a bastard. And my mother was looked down on too, because back then my mom and dad got divorced, yeah. So because of that, my mother was looked down on too by the other relatives because she was she didn't have a husband, but she had a child. Yeah. So they seen her as being no good too. So we were kind of the outcasts in a way. And so my mom didn't want me to go through that shit, so she shielded me from it. And this is why I never grew attached to that land. Yeah, I never established roots there, and that's probably why I never get homesick living here in Berlin, Germany. Anyway, so I think this cat was. I like to think that this cat knew that I needed some laughter. Yeah, so that this cat brought it to me, and he bonded with me, and he would only come to me. If people would call his name, and he wouldn't go to there. He'd just sit there and look around. But as soon as I said Z, he'll run right over. He would only come to me. And this guy was an outstanding cat. Yeah, he beat up a police dog. Actually, he killed a police dog because this police dog was killing a puppy. Yeah, this was a police dog, a German Shepherd that was killing a little tiny puppy. And Z ran over there and tore the German Shepherd's face off, and then the German Shepherd died. But he was protecting the puppy. Yeah. Then he brought the puppy back home, so we could take care of it. Yeah. So we fed it, and we found its owner, and that was because of Z. Yeah. He's really a hell of a cat. So I'm a cat person. Yeah. Anyway, this lady that I know here in Berlin, she's not here in Berlin anymore, but she has two cats. And being a cat person, I was really interested in meeting her cats. So we went to her apartment, and I walked in. Looked at these cats, and I sensed immediately these cats are fucked up. I just sensed it, yeah, that there's something wrong with these cats, and it's like they're psycho, yeah. It's like there's something wrong in their minds. You know what I mean? They swing at you, yeah. Their claws extended and don't even say anything. Try to go up and pet one, it just hiss at you, and it's like, see you crackers. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah. And what was happening was this lady and her boyfriend were having a very, very, very hostile, abusive relationship, and the cats picked up on it, and it was fucking up the cats. Yeah, and so they reflected that. So you see, emotions, they play a role in life, even among animals. Yeah, they do play a role. And just recently, I just saw a video footage of some baby alligators somewhere. They must have been it must be in Florida, where these alligators they're baby alligators. Yeah, they were on the side of this the shoreline here of this river. It was kind of steep, and it had just rained. It was muddy. And what they were doing was they were sliding down. Yeah, so the one would slide down. It just put its legs, it would run and put its legs under, to the side like that, and then it would slide down the mud. Then the next one would do it. Then they crawl back up and do it again. They kept doing that over and over. They were playing. Yeah, they were having a good time. I never thought of that. Yeah, I never, even alligators. Jeez, that's just hilarious. Anyway, so according to natural law, which are from nature, it originates from the universe. So to have a whole society this way really would not work. Yeah, because the emotional absence. People are going to be doing things that are going to. It's still going to bring up some kind of reaction, even with no emotion. Yeah. So it's not going. It's not peace. As some people will say that to have a peaceful world, we can't. There'd be more chance of peace if there were no emotion. No, there wouldn't. There'd probably be more chance of war because it would be illogical to eliminate, somebody who's thinking different. Yeah, and they serve. If you only use their mind, they only serve to hold back the progression of the society. So therefore, they must be eliminated. And so, if you do that, that group might say the same thing about your group. So then the race is on to develop the most powerful weapons, and then they destroy themselves. But see, with emotion, how to. If you're emotionally developed, then you're able to reason. You're able to even trick somebody. More so than just using your mind. Yeah, because this is what a con artist does. The really good ones, they use emotion. If you just use the mind, it's not going to be as successful. You see what I mean? So when people are saying that the emotions are what holding back the human race from achieving superior intelligence, this is not really true. Emotional intelligence is just as important as mental intelligence. And emotional intelligence has to be there for spirituality to develop. So emotional intelligence is extremely important. It has to be there. So the character of Spock was saved by its human half. Remember, it's how does that go? It has a Spock has how does that work? Spock has a Vulcan father and the Earth mother. I think that's how that happens. But see, that would go. How would that happen? You know, if Spock's father is being a full Vulcan that doesn't have emotion. How could that fall in love with the Earth? How could a woman who has emotion from the planet Earth? Um, why would she choose to be with a man who has no emotion? How could they have? How could this happen? Well, it's logical that we should have 1.2 children. Well, let's proceed to the birthing chamber and we'll begin the process of. That's the foreplay, yeah? Vulcan foreplay. Oh, shoot. And she fell for it. Gee, his mom was just easy. Rugged guy. But still, yeah, it's a nice thought, though. You know, it's fantasy. Yeah, it's the character is it's real good fantasy, but we have to remember that's fantasy, and when you try to make that reality, it may be unrealistic. So you have to be realistic about what it is, yeah, before you can think about bringing that to reality, because it might not be realistic. Yeah, so that's it takes emotional intelligence to do. See, we really need to be emotionally mature to be totally smart.